What's going on, guys? Brandon, Toby, Cersei here. We are doing Unit 3, Chapter 10, Question 2. I'm just getting the book out to read the question, which is a large proportion of the American public has little or no trust at all in the media to report the news fully, fairly, and accurately. How much of this negative opinion do you think is a product of hostile media effect? In other words, will people who hold strong political opinions inevitably and always find legacy, more or less objective media as hostile, and do I? Oh, it's a mouthful. But to start off, hostile media effect falls under information processing theory, and information processing theory is essentially theory for understanding how people deal with sensory information. So obviously, sensory overload when it comes to watching news, media, social media sites, anything along those lines. And hostile media effect is defined as the idea that partisans see media as less sympathetic to their side and more sympathetic to their opposing sides and hostile to their point of view. So, just by definition, they just think they're being attacked constantly. And then we see the news outlets. It can be any news outlets. You have the Foxes, the CNNs, the MSNBCs, whatever else you want to talk about, that partisans defend their side to a fault, and they feel like the news stories on the opposite end of the spectrum attack their values, their views, their faith. They feel like they're being personally attacked, so they're going to double down and like plant their feet harder in the trenches and continue fighting the good fight. And one interesting thing that's about the hostile media effect, that partisans that are affected by this are very much, they remember the negative stuff. It could be a story over topic X with 5 positive things, and then there's 2 negative things in that, but all they remember about it is from topic X is, hey, y'all were really, really negative about this, and so y'all are basically attacking my view and my life or whatever. So they just tend to remember the negative stuff more and ignore the positive things. And then you have Gunther and Schmidt. They showed that partisans believe media were hostile towards them, but it really depended on the news outlet more than anything. So if CNN made a story and then a local mom and pop news station in their local home and a partisan's local hometown made the same exact story, they would show it the outlet. They would show the local one as biased a bit, but if it was a much smaller outlet in the same news, they wouldn't take it as hostile. They're like, oh, okay. But if it was the CNN top one, the big conglomerate, immediately they felt attacked and they thought it was hostile. But it could be the word for word exact same story. So partisans also have that. And these same partisans will see reports and stories that support their view, but if they don't see it as hostile, they see it as just still less supportive and still biased against them. So it could be what they want. They're just looking for hostility, looking for fault. And to follow up on the first part of the question is, how much of a negative opinion do you think this product of hostile media effect has on the no trust in media? I don't think it has very much personally. I think it has more to do with just misinformation and people just not being educated properly on news and how news works. Don't get me wrong. I still think there is a lot of people that take news as hostile. Because politics in the last few years have become very much a draw a line in the sand and pick a side. So some people do take offense to it and feel like they're being attacked. And then I want to talk about next about in the second part of the question, in other words, will people who hold strong political opinions inevitably always find legacy, more or less objective media as hostile? I don't believe that's going to be the case, because we all know plenty of people that are very into politics. Excuse me, they're very into politics, but they don't feel it's local media or legacy media is very hostile with it either. So there's that. And then we also have, what, a follow up on the hostile media effect. There's the different standards mechanism that also comes into play with partisan bias. They're convinced that opposing views, so something can be done about their opposing views, but they just believe that your views are inferior to theirs. So if you even mention the story, mention something they don't agree with in the story, they immediately shut you down. And it's like, you're being biased and hostile towards me just because you're saying something I don't agree with. So I don't think strong political opinions always have anything to go parallel with media as hostile. So yeah, I believe that would be the more and so less of the case where it's just misinformation, people not being properly educated on how to find news. And I said that earlier. But yeah, hostile media effect. Love this part of the chapter. Big fan of it. Like thinking about it, like talking about it, obviously. So if y'all have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to leave them below. And I'll talk to y'all guys soon. Hope you have a great week. Later, guys.